After installing all the necessary dependencies, we can now go in and actually install InstaPy. Therefore, we will go to the GitHub page once again and just scroll down until we see this installation section here. And there are basically two ways we can go about installing InstaPy. One is using the command line terminal, and the other one is using the InstaPy quickstart repository here. In this first part of the video, we will look at the installation with the InstaPy quickstart repository, so we will click on that link. This will get us to the InstaPy quickstart repository here. In here we can see the basic structure of that repository. We have our installation folder, a run folder, we have the quickstart.py default setting here, and we have a quickstart templates folder that will be handy later on. We also have a very nice explanation of the installation steps down here. For now we will just go in and click this green button, clone or download, and then just do a download zip here. This will download the whole repository to our downloads folder. And if I open up the downloads folder now, we can see this zip file, and I'll just right click and do unpack data, and now we can see this folder here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the installations folder, and since we're on Windows here, I will go in and go to the Windows folder. In here we can see two files, install and update. Install is kind of the one-time installation of InstaPy in your system. Since InstaPy is under high development, you have to update InstaPy every now and then, and that is exactly what this update script here is for. So we will just double click on the install, and here we can see a command line starting up, and it will go in and check if Python is installed, if Chrome is installed, pip is installed, and if everything is installed, it will then start to install InstaPy on your system. And here we can see that a batch session successfully installed everything we need to know, and we can now press some button to exit the command line. And that's basically already everything you need to do. So if we now go back to the root folder where our quickstart file is located, we can now take a look at the quickstart file. And as I said, we'll be using brackets here. So I'm starting up brackets, and then I'll just do a open, and I'll grab the InstaPy quickstart file here. And now we can see the basic structure of that quickstart file. We will talk about the structure and this file in detail later on, so for now we only want to focus on the username and password. I'll now insert my username and my password for my personal account in here. I won't record this, of course. After that I will be back to actually start up InstaPy the first time. I've now inserted my username and password into the quickstart file, and now we have this handy run folder here. And if we go in there, we can see that we have start scripts for all the major platforms, and in this case we'll be using the Windows start script here. So again, we can just double click that. As we can now see, it will go to the Instagram page and move on to the login section, insert our username and password, and really log us in. And we've seen this before, so we won't look at it now. I will just abort this session for now, since we already know what's going on here. And that's basically it for the simple installation with the InstaPy quickstart repository. Just make sure that you keep your quickstart file in this root folder here, since the start script in the run folder will always take this quickstart.py file here. And you can now go in and edit that quickstart file to your needs. We will look at how to do that in the following videos. In the second part of the video, we will look at the installation with the pip install command. Therefore, we will open the command line, and on Windows this is just typing cmd into your Windows search bar. And here we can see the terminal up and running. Now we only have to copy that pip install command and just paste it into our command line terminal here. Upon hitting enter, you can see that it starts to install InstaPy, and in here we can see that it successfully installed InstaPy version 0.1.3. This version might be different in the future, so you don't need to have that exact same version here. After we see that successfully installed message, we can close our command line prompt and now go in and create a quickstart file. Therefore, we will just click that black arrow here, which will open up and give us a quickstart.py template, and we can copy that. We will use brackets here, so I'm just going to open up brackets, create a new file with Ctrl+N, and then just paste the content in here. Then I'll just go save it to my downloads folder and call it quickstart.py. And this is the new structure. We have the possibility to either insert our username and password into this constructor, or we can provide the username and password via the command line. I'll create a new entry for the username and password here, because I don't want you to see my username and password when I pass it as command line arguments. If we go back to the documentation and scroll down a little bit, here we can see an example of exactly what I was talking about. We can just copy and paste that two parameters here and paste it into our InstaPy constructor like this. I will now go in and insert my username and password. Of course, again, I won't record this, and I'll be back to start up our InstaPy instance for the first time. As we can see here, I have now my quickstart file ready, and now we only need to start up command line terminal again, so I'm just typing cmd. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to traverse to my downloads folder. Depending on where you put your quickstart file, this might be different for you. You might have it on your desktop, but I have it in my downloads folder, so I'm just going to do cd and then downloads and hit the tab button. The tab button will auto-complete my typing, and then I can just hit enter, and by doing a dir, which shows us the content of this directory, we can now see that there is a quickstart.py file here. In order to run our script now, I will just do a Python, and then I can just type qui and hit the tab button again, so it will take the quickstart.py file. Let's just hit enter and observe what happens. We can see that it opens up a new Chrome window. As we've seen before in the previous lessons, it will now go to the Instagram page, insert our username and password, and actually log us in. We've seen this before, and we will just abort that here. I'll just close the Chrome window and the command line window, and now we're ready to really go into that quickstart file and add our wished behavior. And now we're ready to look at the next lessons that will show us how to set up the quickstart file and teach us what methods to use in order to get the best results. That's it for now, so stay tuned for the actual configuration of your personal bot.